Welcome to Healthy Births, Happy Babies, where we share tips, tools, and stories grounded in natural childbirth and parenting principles, so that instead of feeling overwhelmed and confused during this exciting time in your life, you feel safe, supported, and empowered in your childbirth and parenting journey. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jay Warren.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I am the Family Wellness Chiropractor and the Wellness Care Coordinator here at the CAP Wellness Center. And today we have back to the podcast Willow Buckley. She is this time going to share her knowledge and expertise in homeopathy, specifically related to pregnancy. It's a topic I get a lot of questions about. There's a lot of women that I take care of here that have heard about homeopathy, are interested in the remedies because they've heard of the great results, but don't know a lot about it. And my hope is our conversation that we have today will answer a lot of those questions. But before I bring her on, as always, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the CAP Wellness Center. The CAP Wellness Center here in Encinitas, California, has assembled an incredible team of fully certified holistic healthcare professionals that offer the very best in prenatal, postpartum, and pediatric wellness services. We offer acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, yoga, lactation support services, and a wide variety of birth education classes to ensure that you are fully able to experience the power of birth. And now let me introduce to you again Willow Buckley. She's a certified classical homeopath, labor doula, and prenatal yoga instructor. She first combined her holistic interest with her medical science studies while earning a Bachelor of Science in Neuropsychology from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Continuing with her search and passion for a whole healing approach, Willow ventured into homeopathy, where she has helped families and individuals of all ages handle everything from anxiety and depression to morning sickness and sore throats. She is a fervent proponent of the body's power to heal itself and infuses nutrition with real food into her practice. She's also the co-author of the new book, How to Conceive Naturally and Have a Healthy Pregnancy After 30. Willow lives in Encinitas, California with her husband Marcus, a writer and a Montessori educator, and their children Grayson and Emerson. So with that, let me turn to our conversation on homeopathy and pregnancy with Willow right now. All right, Willow, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Yes, well, we had a conversation not too long ago about your book launch. It was in the launching phase, and now you're kind of in the trenches of it. Tell us quickly how things are going.
It's going really well. The interesting thing about a book launch, which I don't know how many people realize, I didn't, is that it's a much longer time period than what we expect. It's not just what happens in the first month or even the first 3 months. Really, our PR and our marketing schedule is for 12 to 18 months. Yes. So it's we go big in the beginning, and then holidays, and now we're ramping back up and getting ready to relaunch some more exciting things over the next month and two. So
you mean it's not just you like publish a book and put it on Amazon and then you're done?
Yeah, I would hope that that's what happened, but
yeah, that is not the case. Yeah,
it is not the case.
Good. Well, in that episode, we had a conversation around Willow and Cristo Recchio's book. It's looks like it's episode 15, How to Conceive Naturally and Have a Healthy Pregnancy After 30, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so check that out. But today we're bringing Willow back to talk about homeopathy in pregnancy. It's something that a lot of my patients ask about, and it is really powerful medicine. It's really powerful remedies. And there's also some tricks to it and some things that you need to know about it before you just jump in. And so Willow is quite the expert on that. So we're going to dive into her brain and have her educate us about it. So Willow, before we even get started in the topic, refresh our listeners about yourself and how you got interested not only in homeopathy and healing, but as far as pregnancy as well.
Yeah, sure. So like most passions, they come and find you. Not necessarily something we're seeking, but divine intervention with my interests. I was a mechanical engineer major and hung out in the alternative section of our campus library looking at Zen in the Brain and such, and was greatly guided over to a new major in my junior year to neuropsychology or
That's a big shift.
It was, I jumped. I made a big leap. And luckily it only took me an extra 2 quarters, not even a full year to graduate still. And from there, it was just kind of a catalyst of homeopathy found me. And that was where alternative medicine just kind of flashed in my eyes, and really didn't know much about it until I started studying it. But for whatever it was, I didn't second guess it. I didn't question it. And I jumped in, and like a lot of us know, once you swim out and you can't see shore behind you, you just keep going. And
Right.
that's what happened. So then in terms of pregnancy and children, whenever I treat children homeopathically, I really look into the experience that the mom had before conception, while she was pregnant, her birth, and postpartum, because those are wonderful portals into helping the child for a specific remedy. And I figured, if I'm getting these children later on, how can I, fend it off right in the beginning? Well, let's start in pregnancy. Let's really give them the best start from the very beginning, and even preconception, which really led to the book, and which led to me becoming a doula and prenatal yoga teacher. And it's just, it's immersed. Everything went from into the womb.
Right.
So it's been an absolute blessing and a gift for myself, and a really great opportunity for families now, because I'm being able to really get to understand and treat them before baby arrives, which allows baby to grow up a lot healthier.
Right. Now, and as far as homeopathy in general, before we dive into prenatal and pregnancy,
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about generally what homeopathy is about, to give our listeners kind of some context.
Yeah, it's so most of us are familiar with the little like pink or blue vials of white pellets at the health food store. That's
Right.
probably the most common thing, and the most common remedy we probably all hear thrown around is arnica, and calendula is the second most common probably. So within those vials, really this is a 200 or over 200 year medicine. And so just a little history real quick was kind of the founder, the one who discovered the medicinal qualities of homeopathic medicines, which come from animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms. He was a physician, a well-renowned physician, and he was over kind of like the bloodletting and leeches, which was the extent of their practice at one time, and got into medical text translation. So he was fluent in 7 languages, or maybe 10. I'm misquoting if it was 7 or 10, but within that, he started noticing all of these reasons that cinchona bark was the cure for malaria, which is still used today, quinine, and that's from cinchona bark. It's still the cure for malaria, present day, and people were saying it's because it's bitter, because of the color, because of this, and he's like, well, none of that makes sense, because if it was bitter, a radish would cure it. So he went and ingested cinchona bark for 4 days, and he induced within himself all the symptoms of malaria. And as soon as he stopped taking that substance, all of those symptoms went away. So he found that there's substances in nature that can evoke certain symptoms in a healthy person. And oddly enough, the brilliance of it is that someone who is suffering from those same symptoms will be cured by that remedy.
Interesting. Huh.
So
Okay.
it's like allergies is a great one. So you have cutting an onion, and we all know what happens when you cut an onion. The nose, the burning eyes, or maybe the burning nose, whichever one, but we get that allergic kind of reaction. So a lot of hay fever and specific allergies that induce a similar reaction. Allium cepa, it's a wonderful remedy to help with those allergies.
And so then in the same way during pregnancy, that you're looking at exactly what symptoms are being experienced in order to know like which ones would be helpful?
Exactly. So mostly in pregnancy, the stuff we're going to talk about today is going to be acute treatment or acute homeopathy, which means it's for something that has just shown up. It's not chronic. It's not long-lasting. A lot of the stuff that comes up in pregnancy, whether it's a symptom from being pregnant or it's a cold or a flu and you just happen to be pregnant, It's acute treatment. Constitutional treatment is something I'll just touch real quickly, and that is a deeper way of treating the individual. And that is really a remedy that is going to be best for that person's entire system on a more chronic level. So maybe a cold or flu remedy that a person might benefit from is going to be different than a remedy that is going to really change their mental, emotional sphere and their physical, maybe suffering of migraines for 10 years. So it's a much deeper, much more constitutional, intense treatment, which is extremely successful, a great way and something to do before pregnancy and during. But we're going to be talking about acute stuff. So I've got morning sickness. What can I take? I've got insomnia while I'm pregnant. What can I take? I've got hemorrhoids, Yahoo, love pregnancy symptoms. What can I take?
Right.
What can I do? And that's exactly what we look. We still take into account emotional and personality traits when we're treating acutely. They're just not as in-depth.
Okay. So you just hit on a ton of different symptoms that a lot of my patients are having issues with and want help with. But before we do that, a question I get all the time when I'm talking about homeopathy as something to pursue is, well, is it safe during pregnancy? Because every woman's told to be very fearful of, or maybe not fearful is wrong, is to be aware that during pregnancy things are very different. So what can you speak to about that before we get into the remedies?
Yeah, of course. It's a great topic, is safety. And especially when you're pregnant, don't eat this, do eat that, don't touch that, do touch that, don't breathe in over here. It's everywhere. And with homeopathy, the beauty of it is the fact that it is effective, natural, and safe. So within a remedy, the way I look at it is, if you take the wrong remedy, meaning it's one that just doesn't help you, you don't want to keep taking it, waiting for one day it's going to. That would be just kind of pointless for your system, and it would be abusing the medicine because you're taking it for no reason.
Right.
But if you do take it and it happens to not be the right remedy, if there's no place for it to act, it's just not going to act. Okay. So these remedies are energetic, they're safe. If you're looking beyond using a 30C potency, meaning a smaller potency in the strength, which means it's not as strong, or something much stronger, sometimes it's advisable to know a little bit more or use a professional homeopath's consultation or recommendations, but they're completely safe. You walk into your health food store, and with some simple instructions, you can sometimes narrow down looking at the symptom picture of a certain remedy and be like, that's exactly what my hemorrhoid feels like.
Okay.
I'm going to take that remedy.
Okay. And then how long, obviously, it's specific advice that might not apply to everybody, but how long would you wait in taking a certain remedy before you would say, okay, well, it's not working, I should try something else or stop? Or is that too individualized for you to answer? No, it's not individualized at all for acute treatment. So it's all about intensity is what you match with frequency. So when you are violently vomiting with morning sickness, or you are coming down with a cold that comes out of the middle of nowhere and it's really intense, I recommend taking a remedy that you find that matches the first one or the closest one that matches your symptoms every 15 to 30 minutes. Okay. I got the stomach flu when I was sick, when I was 7 months pregnant. Awful. Not a great time to have the stomach flu, right? And I would dose every 15 minutes. I would expect, and I did, get relief within an hour. I would expect relief that the vomiting would stop or the frequency would lessen within 30 minutes after 2 or 3 doses. If you're not getting relief within that same intensity and within that frequency, move on to the next remedy. Okay. However, say it's morning sickness and you are nauseous kind of all day long, or you have hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids don't just vanish within a day. It sometimes takes a little time. So you would give yourself a couple days on the remedy and then wait and see, okay, is there improvement? Right. And when there's improvement, stop taking the remedy and you wait until either it plateaus or the symptoms return. So some people really love, I just take it and I keep taking it. But if you're doing well, there's no reason to take it. Your body's got it. Okay. So it's almost like it initiates the body's process. It kind of kickstarts it, and then once the kickstart's started, you want to let the body roll with it?
Yep, we want to let the body do its magic. So it's the catalyst is what I consider for the body, a roadmap to remind the body on how to do what it knows how to do. Sometimes we are thrown off track, and for constitutional treatment it would be, I got sick, or this emotional trauma happened or something, and it kind of knocks us off our optimum frequency of living. And when we do that, we're experiencing symptoms, whether they're mental, emotional, or physical. And the homeopathic remedy helps guide us back to being that optimal self.
Okay. And can you explain to us about potency? I mean, one thing is figuring out like the name of which one we're going to take for it, but then also the number system that's used there. And it's a little backwards what most people think of.
It is. So a lot of people like to avoid the word dilution, but it is basically a dilution. What you're doing is you're potentizing while you're not just diluting it, because they're succussing it, which means they're shaking it when they're making the remedies, and that energetically creates a stronger version of that remedy. So they start off usually in X. So you'll see 6X. I'm not going to get into too much detail, because if they really want to know, they can search my website or search on the internet for more details. But you have 6X, 12X, 30X that you're going to find in stores, and 12C and 30C. Every once in a while, you'll be able to buy a 200C or a 1M. What I've done is just gone up from 3X or 6X to 6C. Anything going above that increases in number is stronger, and then from that same thing, from 12C and 30C, anything that increases is the next level, and then it goes to M, which is usually 1M, 10M, 50M. Within that, and you're treating right now with pregnancy, and you're doing acute, so you're self-prescribing, I like to stick with 30C.
Okay. All right. That's a good ballpark to shoot in. So then as the number increases, it is more potent. It's just knowing a little bit more about homeopathy. It means it's actually more diluted, but that actually strengthens the remedy. Is that right?
So the element of it and the moles, if you're familiar with the chemistry of it, are decreasing, which is the dilution part, but the succussing and the shaking of the remedy, or whether sometimes you can plus it by stirring it before you take it in liquid form while you're at home, and that increases it and is what is potentizing it.
Okay.
So it's two actions happening at the same time, which makes it sound super crazy and voodoo and weird, but everyone thought Newtonian physics was the only way to go until quantum physics came around. So
right. Yes.
It's just, it's hard to measure.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive into some of your acute symptom treatments. You mentioned a couple at the top, but like morning sickness is one that comes to mind right away. So what do you have to share with us about morning sickness?
Yeah. So when we think of morning sickness, it's so different for every pregnant woman. I know that I love when I see moms together, whether they've already had their kids or during pregnancy, and they're like, oh, I just wake up in the middle of the night and I'm starving. I have to keep a peanut butter sandwich next to my bed to eat in the middle of the night because otherwise I'm sick. That's one way of experiencing morning sickness. The other one, I just feel like I'm on the verge of throwing up all day long, all night. Another one, and I've had clients like this, they're just like, it feels like I'm on a boat, like I'm constantly motion sickness or motion sick. And then the intense ones are, it's like, I can't smell food. Even thinking about food will trigger saliva, will trigger a nauseated feeling where I'm about to vomit. I mean, it can get that intense. And within that, those are all very different ways of experiencing, quote unquote, morning sickness. Right. So that's where we want to start seeing is the individual. How do they express the ailment or what they're suffering from? And that's what's so brilliant about homeopathy is you really get to learn, okay, I have morning sickness, I have nausea. Well, what is that nausea like? Is it like motion sickness, or is it sharp pains, or are you vomiting and do you feel better after you vomit? You all of a sudden start looking at like just the nausea as a whole different ballgame. Mm-hmm. Wow, I never even thought about looking at it in this much detail. And then what makes it better? Does ice make it better? Does food make it better? Does food make it worse? You want to start finding every detail, and it sounds overwhelming in some ways, but all of a sudden, once you get used to it, that's the only way you look at an ailment. you look at all the details, which individualizes it for the person. So one of them that I think is great is Cocculus indicus, Cocculus, indicus, Indicus. It is the one that will have extreme aversion to most foods and worse from any kind of motion. It is going to feel like seasickness. Often they might even feel like vertigo, like a little bit dizzy when they stand up. It could be because of blood pressure. It could not, depending. Don't cross your legs while you're sitting, mamas. That's not good either. And they'll feel a lot better when they lie down and can be completely still. In fact, sometimes it'll hit them in waves where they're like going to have to lie down. But they're really bad. It's the sight and smell even could just spark along that intense nausea. And so they would definitely benefit from the remedy Cocculus indicus.
Okay, nice.
So
And then is that something the same as we talked at the beginning where with that intensity, if they started taking it, they should feel a change pretty immediately, and then you want to back off on it a little bit?
Yeah. So for one instance, I have a client who benefited greatly from that particular remedy, and she would take it almost daily, but she didn't have to take it multiple times a day. Yeah. She would just take it once a day. She wasn't taking it every hour. She wasn't taking it every 15 minutes because she noticed once she took it, it quelled those symptoms and those reactions. So it could be a daily thing.
Okay.
You know, most nausea only lasts a few weeks. And at any time, I always like clients or self-prescribers to wait and not take it and see, like, did my body get it? Okay, no. It needs a daily roadmap. Those hormones are surging more and more every day.
Right.
I need that roadmap to be reminded to my body every day.
Right. Okay, good. Good advice. And then what other kind of like acute symptoms are the most common ones that you help people with?
During pregnancy?
Yeah.
Gosh, I would definitely have to say probably morning sickness is a huge one. I would have lots of cramping, leg pains. That tends to happen in the third trimester. And sometimes it's some cell salts. Magnesium phosphoricum is a great one for that type of leg cramping, the Charlie horse type.
Right.
And there's a few others that are great. That's one I'd probably reach for.
Okay.
Hemorrhoids tend to be a great one. I really love Nelson's homeopathic hemorrhoid treatment. It's actually the homeopathic version. The main remedy in it is homeopathic witch hazel, which is a very common regular treatment for hemorrhoids.
Right,
But when you potentize it, it increases its strength and works from the inside out and really helps eradicate such symptoms from those hemorrhoids. So I'd say probably emotional is the next one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, constipation. Number one.
Okay, yeah. Good.
Number one for sure. That first trimester when all the intestines slow down on purpose to absorb more nutrients, unfortunately also can slow down the process. So great remedies I'll just run through some. People can read about them later, but for constipation, Lycopodium, Nux vomica, Pulsatilla, Sepia, and sulfur. Those are the top 5 for constipation.
Okay. What about insomnia?
Insomnia, yeah.
That's a complex issue for sure, but what advice do you have on that?
Yeah, so often with insomnia, I like to say it's usually a mental and emotional thing, not a physical one, unless it's like restless legs or something else. But I find that there's 4 remedies, and one of them is aconite. And that's the kind that you take before bed because you can't fall asleep because you're so anxious and fearful. So maybe it's something's going on with pregnancy, or you just have deep-rooted fears about something bad's going to happen in your pregnancy, or you're fearful about the upcoming labor and birth, or you're fearful. There's an enormous number of things that a woman can be fearful of, and if they take that on into such a visceral place, it's going to keep them up at night. A lot of people have that, and taking that before bed, I have moms call it nature's Valium. I've given it postpartum, right after birth, after traumatic experiences where birthing a baby at 33 weeks, unknown preterm, and they call it nature's Valium. Aconite is great. And so if that's the reason you're having a hard time going to sleep, I highly recommend trying that remedy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to prompt you into more about insomnia.
Mm-hmm. And so then there's a lot of different reasons. The top 4, like I said, another one can be excitement, right? It's very exciting to be. Maybe we found out whether it's a boy or a girl, or we're just thinking about our upcoming baby shower, or the name, or what it's going to be like. How do we want to parent? It's just a rush of thoughts and emotions and excitement. And maybe that's why we can't sleep. And it kind of might feel like you drank too much coffee.
Yeah.
Here's another brilliant moment where you can see how what might induce something in somebody could also be what helps it. Coffea crudum is the remedy. It's made from the coffee bean. If you have that kind of hamster wheel inside your brain and body where you're overly excited, you almost feel like your heart's palpitating like out of your body.
Yeah.
You're just excited. There's nothing wrong. I just can't sleep. Like, I'm just awake. We've all drinking probably too much caffeine at some point and lied in bed feeling the same way.
Yeah.
You want to take the coffea.
Okay.
So it's really coming back to, why can't you sleep? Or are you going to sleep just fine and you wake up in the middle of the night? That's a real common one. It's like, okay, I woke up, I had to go pee because I'm peeing every 3 hours because I'm pregnant and that baby's pushing on my bladder. And so if you wake up and then you're done, maybe you want to realize, like, are you kind of overworked? Are you sensitive to mental stress? Are you doing a lot of things and maybe overindulging in some foods, or who knows what it might be? But if you notice you are going to sleep okay, but you're waking up and just not being able to go back to sleep, Nux vomica is a great one. Now, the emotional aspect of someone who might benefit from Nux vomica is also kind of the type A person. They're driven. They want to get things done. They want to do well. They're maybe, it doesn't matter if you're just like, as a stay-at-home mom, household's got to be in order. I take care of this business, or I'm a top executive that's pregnant and that's just work is important. And you fall asleep fine and wake up in the middle of the night, Nux vomica. So people have to start realizing, well, what is insomnia for them?
Right.
So many different variations of it.
Just like with the morning sickness, and really kind of diving into exactly what you're experiencing so that you can find the right remedy for you.
Exactly, because how you experience something and what the experience is really does vary from person to person.
Right. Huh. And it makes perfect sense. And why, if someone has ever tried going into the health food store to look at all the remedies, like, there's a lot on the shelf. And now we know why. Yeah, and excuse me, and there's a fraction what's on the shelf. Those are the most user-friendly ones. And a lot of times you just read what the word is written on it, and that is because the FDA requires the pharmacies to list the main symptom that they might be known for treating. But you have multiple remedies that are going to be great for insomnia. And then you're also going to have one remedy that's going to be great for treating a lot of different things. So there's so much crossover, and just because it's written on the bottle, it might be a good remedy, but unless you look at what the symptom picture is, it might not be the best one for you. Right. Huh. Well, and it makes sense too that, it seems like there's very many levels of this, right? There's the one that you can kind of figure out on your own, and you go try it out in the health food store, but then it sounds like you can dive real deep into homeopathy, and having someone like yourself to navigate it would be important.
Yeah, that's why I offer acute care. So constitutional treatment is definitely a passion and what I highly recommend for people to inquire about, but acute consultations are wonderful. So just like you'd go and see your doctor for your kid's ear infection or for something that you're suffering from, you can call me. It's a 30 to 45 minute consult, and I give a whole lifestyle and homeopathic suggestions with 1 week's worth of follow-ups via email and text. And then you're able to really feel like, okay, I have these remedies at home. I bought my remedy kit, so they're available. And now I just need a little bit more help in narrowing it down, or how exactly do I look for it. But there's some wonderful books. I have them on my website as well, if people are looking to prescribe for themselves and take a dab.
Okay. Well, and I'll have your website, it's balancingyourhealth.com, in the show notes and on the blog post. Is that how people should get in touch with you then too, if they want to do that symptomatic or acute treatment?
Yeah, that's a great way to find me. It's exactly how they can go.
All right. And, I want to tell all of our listeners, too, that Willow's offered for our podcast listeners, like anyone that wants to do that kind of consultation, she's offering a 15% discount on that session if you mention this podcast. And that also is, we're going to be, from the launch time of when you're listening to this, just good through March of 2015. So if you're listening to it afterwards... 16. Yeah. Wow. It already is 16. Good catch.
Happens fast.
Yeah, exactly. So through March of 2016, excuse me. So thank you for offering that to our listeners. I think that's really generous of you.
Glad to do it.
Yeah. So what is the kind of like major take home pearl of wisdom you'd like moms listening to this to take home with them, and what kind of action step or just word of advice?
Well, I'd love for them to know that homeopathy, like most alternative treatments, I think they really shine at the beginning of a symptom or suffering. So I say right when you feel like you're starting to experience something, find some treatment or alternative help, whether it's homeopathy, acupuncture, chiropractic. We all have different avenues to kind of eventually treat the entire body. That's what holistic health is, and we all share that same commonality. So it's to do it initially. Don't wait until you're suffering for so long and you realize things aren't working to go and seek treatment, because pregnancy should be a vibrant, enjoyable time, and there's so many things that can nip symptoms in the bud early on.
It's much better to listen to the whispers your body's sending you messages in, rather than waiting for it to scream at you.
And that's usually what happens. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Willow, again, for being with us. We covered a lot of material here just in pregnancy, and I know I would love to have you back to also talk about homeopathy in kids, because I think that's a really important subject as well.
It's a huge passion of mine. Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, we'll have you back soon for that.
Wonderful.
But for you, those of you listening, all of the information that she went through as far as like names and potencies and things will be on our website. So definitely go check that out. But as we said, it's a complicated subject. And if you want to get personalized help, Willow, I just really highly recommend you getting in touch with her and taking advantage of that offer that she put together. So,
wonderful.
Willow, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about this episode and other natural childbirth and parenting topics, please visit us at capwellnesscenter.com or message us on our Facebook page with any questions you might have. We here at the Cap Wellness Center look forward to helping you and your family be as happy and healthy as you can be.